Okay, guys, so I assigned you notes to take at home tonight. These are quadratic notes. It's exactly what we went over in class today on the board and in your Heart Interactive stuff. It's just pulled out into a more organized form. What I would like you to do is I'd like you to make sure that they are Cornell note style so that you have that left-hand side that you could go back and review your notes and pull some things out if you needed to. So, if I started with this equation, if I gave you this, you should be able to tell me, hey, Miss Storker, that's vertex 4. Okay? You should be able to tell me, hey, the easiest point I can get from that is called the vertex. It's from vertex form, Miss Storker, and that the vertex is +1, -9. Okay, so we've talked about the fact that the +1 is the opposite of the x, and the big thing that I've given you to remember is that I'm never going to date the same thing I've already dated. I'm always looking for the opposite of the x, and that with that opposite x, I also am going to have a same y. Okay, it's also based off of our transformation rules about like this goes to the right because it's like it's in a mirror, and this one goes down because it's outside. Opposite x, same y. So, if I give you this, you should be able to take this and get into standard form. So to move from this to standard form, I'm going to make a box. When I make this box, it's not a box and the x, it's just a box. I have the outside of the box right now. It's x minus 1 and x minus 1. Notice that this is a squared. I drew a square. Notice that it's a 2. I write it twice. Okay, so a couple of different ways to remember it. And then don't forget that that 9 is still a thing. So like that 9 is still going to need to have something happen to it, even though it's not in my box at all. X times x makes x squared. X times -1 makes -1x. -1 times x makes -1x. -1 times -1 makes +1. As I pull this out of the box, I get x squared minus 2x plus 1 minus 9. I get to combine like terms. This makes a -8, -2x, x squared. Please note that the -2x came from adding those two things together because they were like terms as well. This is standard form. Standard form is known as ax squared plus bx plus c. Okay? So I'm actually going to go put that off on my side because I didn't give this to you as standard form. I asked you for standard form. You should know that that is standard. You should know that standard form is ax squared plus bx plus c. You should know that from standard form, the easiest point to get is my y-intercept. My y-intercept in this case is -8. Then you should know how to get from standard form to factored form. Okay. In order to do that, I'm going to start with my standard form. And then I'm going to go and I'm going to make an X and a box. If you're in my 6th period, you learned a shortcut for this. Because this has no number in front, the rest of my classes I did this just the same for each and every single kind, whether it has a number in the front or not. This multiplies to -8. It adds to -2. Two numbers that multiply to -8 and add to -2 are 4 and 2. I know that the 4 is the thing that I want to make negative because that's the bigger number and I need it to be a negative in the end. I put the -4 and the 2 right here in the side boxes. And the side boxes get x's and x's. The reason that these get x's and x's is because they pull out of the x. And they're actually there to create that -2x that was in the middle. So there's two things left, and there's two things left in my standard form. In the first box goes the first term, in the last box goes the last term. Always on the side, I'm going to have an x times an x to make the x squared. Since there's no number here, I can just keep going. If there was a number there, I'd have to figure out how to make that number work. X times -4, or x to make -4x, I need to make a -4 at the top to multiply. X times what makes 2x? 2. We can double check our work by doing -4 times +2 makes -8. That's true. I'm not done yet. I have to write this into factored form. You should know that factored form looks like the x minus 4 times the x plus the 2. So I'm continuing. This gives me my factored form. I'm going to put this off on the side because I didn't give you that information. That's information that you should know. This x minus 4, x plus 2, give me my x-intercepts. The way we find x-intercepts is by taking the opposite of those x's, so I get 4 and -2. Note that this does not have parentheses because that would be wrong. That would say that this is one point only, and it is multiple. So it is two different points. It is 4 and -2. The long way to get this would be to say that this is the zero product property, that x minus 4, x plus 2 equals 0, x minus 4 equals 0, x plus 2 equals 0. When I subtract from both sides, add to both sides, I get x equals 4, and I get x equals -2. Right now, these are super simple. I don't really need to do the zero product property. I'm going to teach you a trick for even if there's numbers in the front. But if you like to go and do things the long way, there you go. So this is kind of what we've done. We should have the ability to go from vertex form to all of the other forms. We are working on having fluidity of being able to have me give you standard form and you move around to all those other different forms. Okay, so tomorrow I'm going to put up some different notes on like how to do that, how to start in standard and get to the other ones, how to start in factored and get to the other ones. Okay. Knowing all this information, you should be able to graph this. I'm not gonna go and graph it, okay? You should be able to know how to put a vertex point on the graph, how to put a y-intercept on the graph, how to put x-intercepts on the graph, okay? So that's what we went over today in class. If you missed due to the PSAT, this is the only thing that you need to do from classwork today. If you were here, awesome, you got some extra practice.